So today we're going to be making the Nebula nails, and the good news is this was super easy and super fun technique, and we're going to be using several different things here for it. Just using my artist Loft watercolors, and we've got permanent violet and shine white, Payne's gray, mauve, and permanent pink. And you can pick whatever colors you want, of course. I would definitely pick a dark color and white as two of them though. And then we're gonna be using the perfect white for the background, and of course my velvet matte top coat and base gel to be the base of the artwork. And then I'm gonna use the builder gel to seal everything in, and I'm gonna top coat with some glitter bells today. A couple other things that I'm going to be using. You're going to use some Q-tips for this. You need one Q-tip for every color you're going to use. And then I like this one here is my NYX Pro Round that I got off of Amazon. I'm using the 2.0 again. And this brush right here, I got this off of SHEIN, I believe. I'm using the 15mm liner. You're probably not going to use this too much. And then you'll need something for the water and something to hold your paint. For some of the details, I'm going to be using my Madam Glam Gel paint, and I'm using an eyeliner brush from this. I honestly can't remember where I got this. Anything should work though. This got fairly stiff bristles, so this is working out really well for me. So here's my nail ready to go. I went through and buffed the surface, added some base coat, and 2 layers of my Madam Glam Perfect White, and then a layer of Velvet Matte Top Coat to give myself a good base to work with. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take one of my Q-tips and I'm going to wet one side of it and dab it off a tiny bit, and then I'm going to start with my lightest color. In this case, for me, it's going to be this permanent pink right here. I'm just going to dab it around on the wet side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, this is going to be sort of the inside of my nebula, and I'm going to go through and I'm just going to dab this around. Like so, make sure that I've got some variation, and then I'm gonna dab a little bit of paint off here and there and give it a tiny bit more sort of dimension about it. And kind of go back and forth with that technique until I'm happy with what I've got. I think that looks great, actually. Now I'm gonna go in with my next darkest color. In this case, that's gonna be this mauve here. Again, I'm gonna wet one side and I'm gonna dip it into the mauve color. And I'm just gonna go along and dab it all along the outside here, like so. And I know this might seem like it's not turning out the way that you want it to, but this is one of those trust the process things. It will be amazing in the end. Again, I'm just gonna dab that around there, and I think I'd like a tiny bit more color than that, so I'm gonna add a little bit more. Like so. And then I'm going to go in with my next darkest color. For this one, it's going to be this permanent violet. And I'm just going to do the same technique. I'm going to take my and I'm going to go in and just dab it all around where I'd like it to go. Dab a little bit off. Dab a little bit more on until I'm happy with the kind of shape that I've got. And I'm going to add a little bit more of this pink around the outside here. And see, this is starting to look like I want it to. Like a little bit maybe darker in there. And I'm just gonna go back and forth like this until I've got the colors that I would like to have with it. And that is looking pretty good. Even this out here a tiny bit. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And now the last main color I'm going to use, I'm using this Payne's Gray. You can, of course, decide. For me, this is going to be my darker color. I think blue would also be great. Maybe a mix. And I'm just going to do the exact same thing. I have found this color a little bit harder to work with than the other ones. And so I'm going to get my Q-tip wet. I'm going to mix it up with the paint, go through and dab it on around the outside. Like so. Make sure I've got the tip and that all of my edges are pretty good. And then I'm going to go back in and kind of dab around and give it some sort of shading dimension. And I want it to be kind of feathered into the other work, and so I'm going to make sure I go over a tiny bit. And if you're having too much trouble with it picking up all of your pigment, the thing to do is to let it dry a little bit and then come back and pick up just a bit. And I think that's turning out pretty good. I would like a little bit less color here, I'm thinking. I'm gonna just dab that a bit. Like so. Once you feel like this is as dry as you want it to be, go ahead and take your, like I said, I'm using this Nick Pro round here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it wet, and I make sure I've got any color that's in it out of it, because I'm using white. I don't want it to end up being pink or purple or anything. And I'm going to get pretty straight paint, not too watered down or anything. And what I'm doing for mine is I'm just going to kind of go around the edges of the shapes I've got there. Like so. Kind of every direction there. And don't worry about this. It's we're going to go in and work with this some more. So if it's looking like a disaster, don't even worry about it. It's going to be okay. And wherever I'm thinking it needs to be here. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to get my brush wet and try to get the color out of it. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to make round strokes here and wash this out towards the inside of my nebula. And I'm going to do it for each one of them. And I'm going to bring, again, the inside of the nebula, so I'm bringing this bottom part up. And if you like a little bit, it's nice to have this kind of white in there. And so if you're feeling like you want some more of it, get your brush super wet with a tiny bit of white on it, and then drag some of this around in there. Anywhere else you might want a tiny bit more white. Like so. And I think that's pretty good. Pretty good. Like that. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my eyeliner brush here and I'm going to get it wet and I'm going to get quite a little bit of paint on it. And then I'm going to take it, and you're better off to do this close to the nail and maybe practice on something before you do it. And I'm just going to start flinging paint. And a little bit more on there. If you do it close, you will have a better chance of controlling where your little guys end up, your little dots. So that's good, kind of a lot. And I'm gonna let that dry. This is your chance. If any of your little splashes did not turn out quite the way you want them to, like I don't care for this one, it's kind of too long. I'm gonna go in there with my brush and grab it and fix it. And this is your chance to do that if you're gonna fix any of your little dots. There we go. Okay, and so now I'm gonna let this dry a little bit. The next step, I'm gonna use this Madam Glam white gel paint. And I like to make my little stars with a dotting tool. So I'm using this one right here, kind of a medium-sized one. And I like to put the stars in the darker region of the work. I'm gonna put the dot right there. And thinking right over here would be great. And then I'm gonna take this little nail brush that I got off SHEIN here. A longer brush will probably work better. And then what I do to make these stars is I pull in the direction that I want it to go with a long striping brush. And like this. When you're happy with them, go ahead and cure that. So here they are, easy peasy nebula nails. And so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put a layer of base coat over the top to give the rest of my layers a fighting chance to stick. And then I'm gonna go in with my Soak Off Builder gel and add that in for strength. And then give it a top coat. I'm using the glitter bells today. And then you're done.